People, a program in which we investigate the lives of people making a difference in our community. Good afternoon, this is Robert McBride with another episode of Everyday People, getting to talk to people in the community making a difference. We have a beautiful spring coming on finally, and I haven't talked with this guest for about a year or so, but I'm sitting here with Maria Basescu, who's the director of Next Stage in Putney, and who does incredible programming. Both for the community, bringing people in from away, but also doing incredible events. And the organization just keeps gaining momentum. So I thought it's time to get Maria back here and give us a little update on what's happening down at Next Stage in Putney and some of the things we can look forward to this summer, and giving out her website so you can always check in yourself. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, what's happened since the last time you were on this program?
Well, okay, speaking of the website,
Yeah.
which is nextstagearts.org.
Great.
It's a new website since I was last here.
Okay.
We had a project that was actually a really interesting process to go through in terms of rebranding and stepping back and looking at what is the organization, what does it mean to people, what are people's associations, what do we want them to be going forward. So we have a new look, a new website, new everything, and it feels good to us, somewhat resonant of the fact that we definitely see ourselves reflecting this wonderful community, but also expanding out from here and inviting in new artists and new art forms, and sort of looking beyond just what we've always done before and welcoming in the new.
So if we just step back a second to remind our audience, tell us a little bit about, Next Stage. It's been in existence how long?
Yeah.
Its kind of basic mission.
Right.
And how you're fulfilling that or evolving that as you become more rooted in the community. Great.
So I was actually on the board of Next Stage when it was first forming, which was 2011. It was owned, the building that we are now in was owned by the Putney Historical Society.
Right.
And we partnered with them to look at how we could really reinvigorate its use in the community. It had been used as a church or as a meeting space, but very sporadically. And it's a fantastic building, built in 1841. Great bones, as we say, in terms of acoustics and community feeling, but it was not accessible. The main sanctuary, which is now performance space, was upstairs, and there were a lot of kind of old rotting seats and stuff like that. So, but we started programming in the space. In 2013, we got some funding for an executive director, and I took on that position, so that was in 2013. And then we jointly raised almost $2 million with the Historical Society. It is now a beautiful, modern, state-of-the-art facility. We kept what we think were some of the core characteristics of the space that make it so wonderful and community conducive, but now it is accessible, it is comfortable, there are great sight lines. And we not only have this beautiful 200-seat upstairs performance space, but we have performance and community spaces downstairs. We have a renovated kitchen, commercial-grade kitchen. We have an art gallery. So we have 4 spaces now that we use for programming. So since 2013, we operate year-round. We present musical concerts of many genres, classical music, Yellow Barn Music does their concerts there other than the 6-week music festival session, which happened at the Big Barn in Putney. Otherwise, they do their shows with us the rest of the year. We have a co-presentation coming up with Yellow Barn of Beowulf with Benjamin Bagley on June 16th. We're excited about that. We do lots of folk music, Celtic music, Americana. In fact, we have Caitlin Canty coming up and the Oshima Brothers May 31st in that genre. We do rock and roll, we do dance concerts, we do jazz, most often in collaboration with the Jazz Center. We have a theater company in residence, Apron Theater Company, that their two big productions are during the summer. So July and August, we have Mary Page Marlowe by Tracy Letts, who wrote August Osage County, which we had also presented there. And then we have Tartuffe coming up in August. So, yeah, all of the above.
Wow.
As I said, we have transformed the downstairs space, so we have a cafe space. We can turn it into a cafe. Every other month, we do a music and food event. So tomorrow night, for example, we have Zydeco and Gumbo. Planet Zydeco is the band, and Top of the Hill Grill is the food. And those are very popular community events.
Right. Right. So when you do an event like that, is the food and then you end up upstairs, or do you keep it all on one level and people are sort of dancing, or
That's
what?
all downstairs.
That's all downstairs.
The Next Stage Cafe events are all downstairs. We have a little dance floor there. We have a little stage. We serve the food right out of the kitchen. We now have a beer and wine license, so we offer that. The downstairs events are much more informal. The door price is like $10 instead of
Wow.
maybe 20 or 25, depending on the event for upstairs.
Right.
I should also mention we do films there and spoken word events, which have become enormously popular. We do those upstairs and downstairs.
Right. So that probably involves tons of collaboration. I mean, there's some of the events you do that you're just outright hosted by Next Stage, and sometimes it's just you're providing the umbrella of the space and everything and collaborate with other organizations to bring something to the space.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Unlike many of the organizations in the area, like Sandglass Theater and the Vermont Jazz Center, New England Youth Theater, Yellow Barn, each one of those wonderful organizations have an artistic vision. And that's what drives them, classical music or jazz or etc.
Right.
Other than that, we have a theater company in residence. We're a presenting house. So while we have many artists and extremely talented people on our board and in our committees, we aren't driven by a mission to present jazz. So that does really foster how much we collaborate with these other organizations. And as you say, we have artists contacting us all the time, and increasingly so as our reputation grows, saying, will you present us? We're going to be on tour.
Right.
We're coming through. And so we do a lot of independent productions like that.
Right. So how far, do you, some of the stuff you think in advance because you're starting to skeletally pull together your 2022 season or 2021 season? I mean, how far out is something kind of in a way formulated and booked for you right now?
So we are very solidly programmed through 2019 now.
Okay.
Unlike some places that, like the Weston Theater, for example, that have a season that they program, we program all year round, and so we have somewhat of a rolling programming system, because also we're somewhat opportunistic. If someone's coming through and has an opening date in their tour schedule, we can more spontaneously accommodate that. We do have quite a bit booked into 2020, and there's some things that we have structurally in place, like, for example, now we do a monthly storytelling series downstairs in the cafe. We know that's just going to continue each month. As I said earlier, that is a extremely popular format. We do some moth storytelling events also upstairs, and we'll do an annual story slam upstairs, but otherwise it'll be these monthly things downstairs. And we do quarterly dance parties, and we try very much to balance the types of things we do and the types of audiences that we appeal to. So we'll do things for younger audiences and so on. So other than the sort of structural balance, we are not yet, we haven't, and the fact that we know, for example, we'll have a major theater production each
Right.
July and each August. We have not booked into 2021 or, hopefully we'll have a planet in 2021, but
Right,
who
right.
knows?
Yeah. So if you look at your scheduling, or where you could possibly expand comfortably, you want to drive yourselves crazy. I mean, is there a time or day kind of thing where the space is sort of underutilized or more available? How you're like daytime events or morning events or conference kind of event things?
Yes.
Is there, as you think, because you'll be only limited by how much you can present in the evenings and stuff, and that might not be your biggest fear now, but without going crazy, it sounds like you've got a pretty full schedule going on with lots of partners and possibilities of things happening. But if you kind of look at your thing, like I look at our opera house and we focus on the first run movies and the town owns the building, but the space has a lot of availability during the day to do things. And in the past, I know we've helped do statewide conferences there. But if you were kind of looking in that different way, like you say, well, here's some blocks of times we might go after this kind of market of people that need to have a space in the center of town, because you can accommodate upstairs 200?
200 people.
Right.
A note on that, because it's a great question. The space was designed to be very flexible. So we can have up to 200 seated people.
Mm-hmm.
We have 100 stationary seats, and then an open space where we can pull out some risers and add layers of seating. Those are mobile chairs that we can set up or take down. So with everything set up, it's 200. We can take the risers out, not have the stage extension on, which we use for theater productions, have a nice big dance floor. So that's 100 seated people. And in those cases, we could fit 300 people in there if they're standing.
Right.
But that flexibility is a very important aspect of Next Stage. The expansion question is an interesting one. I find myself often in the situation of trying to do less because we have so many possibilities and so many great ideas. We're always kind of busting at the seams.
Right.
However, to your point about how to use the time in the day, I'm very interested in pursuing programming for older adults in the area who don't want to go out at night, maybe. They don't want to drive or they don't want to navigate that. I think there's a 4 to 6 o'clock time frame where we could do speakers and concerts and programming. That's the before dinner. And that would be both a smart use of the space, because it is available then, and also meeting a community need. Could be films as well. A lot of local folks love to be able to walk to the movies, but they don't necessarily want to go out at night. So we're looking into that, as well as we're always looking at expanding our student educational workshops that we can do during the day. Whenever possible, if we have an artist coming in at night, we'll do a workshop with them. If it's in storytelling or music composing or writing or something, we can have them meet with students during the day. We're a walk away from the Putney Central School that we do a lot of collaboration with, and we also have folks from the grammar school and the Putney School and the Dummerston School and sometimes Landmark College all coming and using that space. So more of that is always a good idea.
Right. Yeah, and with the thing about the older population going out earlier, doing something, and even sometimes if the meal kind of is included, if there's some other thing you partner with, that's kind of a lovely thing to be able to come, go to one place, you're not moving your car, walking across the street, or you want to support the other businesses, but that kind of event that you could come and the price would be reasonable.
Yes.
Just it's really, that's a big need.
Yeah, and it's absolutely true that having the kitchen now, and again, we are mindful that we don't want to be a new restaurant.
No.
We don't want to compete with the wonderful area restaurants that we have. But the convenience of being able to offer some food that's integrated with the program. Zydeco and gumbo,
Yeah,
blues and
yeah,
barbecue.
no, it's
you know,
great.
it's
really
it's a
terrific.
nice,
Yeah.
easy way that I think people feel is a way to invite them in. Just kind of bridges some gaps.
Yep.
And we're really thrilled about that, having that offering.
I mean, the events that I've attended there, not only from performing events to, kind of meeting kind of events, it's just very comfortable to be there. You really thought it out, and the things you added to it as you went along have really made it a great
you.
place to work out of and be in.
Yeah,
It's really, really nice. Not awkward at all, about it. It's just the kitchen thing works, the cafe thing works, going upstairs thing works, whatever parts you're involved in the building. And sometimes that's what was so wonderful when I helped host a conference there last spring or the spring before, was the fact that it was very easy to come in. We had a couple hundred people, the registration happened, the coffee and muffins happened, and then when we needed to go upstairs for the keynote and stuff, and it just worked just seamlessly.
Yeah,
it was really great.
Well, we love having conferences also,
Yeah.
to your point, and to do more of that and invite in a range of ways that people can have slideshows or
Right.
speakers or food events.
Right.
We can accommodate that.
It's such a great way to show off your community, I mean, it's great when people come for performances because they touch base with Putney, and that's a major focus. But when they're coming from statewide or regional, it's like, oh, and I went to Putney and I went to this great, it helps just market your community so well, depending on not even how much they spend there or not even,
Right.
but if they probably will go across the street and have some more coffee or something, but just the fact that, wow, I came to Putney, this center worked, it was really great. Having that experience is great marketing.
Yeah, good. Well, you're hired.
I don't think I need to, You're doing a great job.
One of the things I love about what we're able to do at Next Stage is to really celebrate the local talent that we have. And we have so much local talent, including the artists who we're now able to feature, the visual artists that we can feature in the gallery. But the musical talent and in so many ways, to feature those people and right on through, sometimes to have them, if they're not as well known, be opening acts for some of the really well-known acts that we're also able to attract. So I'm very excited. Well, Will Ackerman, he embodies both because he is from Windham County. Windham Hill Records, he founded. He played last year to a sold-out audience with several other guitarists, and he's coming back in September with a group that he's sold out Carnegie Hall several times, and September 25th, thrilled about that, and really thrilled that we have Anais Mitchell coming back. Anais Mitchell, who's now been nominated, she's Vermont born and bred, but is nominated for 14 Tony Awards for Hadestown on Broadway, and has just taken the world by storm.
Right.
But she loves performing in that intimate, small audience, and she'll be back on October 12th. And we're hoping we have someone we're excited about possibly being the opening act for her. But that range of talent and speakers and supporting emerging artists, but celebrating and giving access to local people to these national and in some cases international talents is very gratifying.
And I think sometimes we lose perspective that it's actually, or maybe I'm projecting on these more well-known performers, that it's actually kind of a wonderful opportunity to perform in a smaller space and have that intimacy of being in Vermont. I mean, Vermont kind of has this great brand anyway, but I mean, the fact that, you just think, oh God, they're so successful, it's all about the money, it's all about this, and I think it's stuck in that whole circle, but that they can come to a community and be in the center of the community and have sort of an intimate audience in such a reality base. I've found whenever the performers and professional performers have been very gracious, and it's a two-way street.
It's so
first
true.
you think it's oh my God, what are we going to offer them from Putney or Bellows Falls? But when they're coming, just that experience of being to be in a smaller village in Vermont is kind of a great offering back.
It's really true, and it's we can't pay top dollar. We're
Yeah,
a
of
small
course.
house, and we want to not price things so that people can't afford it. But we treat people really well, both in terms of the audience experience, but also how we house them, how we feed them, the
Yes.
attention
Yes,
we
yes,
give them,
yes.
the beautiful space that
Yeah,
we're in,
that's-
and they tell their friends, and their friends are like, "Can we come?
Yeah,
We would love to play
yeah,
there."
that's
And
great.
yeah,
That's great. I want to move on to something else because I've kind of been given the high sign. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes left.
Yes.
But another thing that Maria and I are connected is through the Vermont Creative Network, which is the Vermont Arts Council's initiative throughout the state, dividing the state into 6 zones, and sort of investigating and collecting information on the economic impact that creatives in the broadest sense contribute. So yes, it's the musicians and the painters, but the people that work at these places, the janitor, anyone that's working within a creative environment. And figures and information collected, looks like it almost accounts for 9% of the Vermont workforce that are working under the creatives umbrella, which is significant and often not included or mentioned in economic studies. It might even be more than agriculture includes in terms of things. I mean, not to downplay any other segment of our workforce, but so you now have some probably, after years of it being opened and after your vision for who's going to be our audience, and we bring people to the community, yet we serve the community. Is there any kind of ways, some simple figures you can share with them on sort of like the economic impact that Next Stage has on Putney?
Well,
or your audience comes from where, of course, depending on the performer, but
Yeah.
a few.
I'll tell you one thing that never ceases to amaze me, which is I introduce most of the shows, welcome people, and often I will ask the audience, how many of you have never been here before? And I would say regularly, a third to a half of the people in the audience raise their hands.
Wow.
And you hear a gasp from everyone who's there because, and then I ask, where are you coming from? How many
Right.
are, and sometimes just for fun, I'll say, shout out where you come from.
Right.
But that kind of regular expansion of people coming in from out of town is notable.
Right.
So we have a core bunch of people in the local area who come back repeatedly, but I would say it is not more than half the audience. So we're increasingly pulling from certainly the Western Massachusetts area, from Bennington, from as far as Boston, from the Upper Valley, certainly from Keene area. People are coming to Putney, and then they're discovering Putney. They're
Right.
discovering the Gleanery and the General Store and JD's and the Putney Co-op and Sandglass Theater, which is right next door, and Yellow Barn, because you can sort of see
Yeah.
all of it. So I think I'm interested in trying to collect more economic multiplier data about as these people are coming in, what are they spending in town, not just at Next Stage, but otherwise. So I don't have
Yeah.
hard economic data on that point, but I know how much we're bringing in annually in ticket revenue, and I know that there's an expanded
Right.
factor in terms of the impact on the gas stations and the restaurants and the area hotels.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
No, and I think that's one of the things we, are kind of making a commitment to through the Vermont Community Network is to maybe develop some more of these systems of collecting the information consistently throughout the
Yes.
state, so that we can continue to tell the story and show the importance that that cultural events really are major economic impact, directly in dollars and cents, not only in setting a stage for a community that then people want to live in.
Right.
And do that, which is so important. And I think a lot of what's been coming up in my mind is, breaking down some of the myths and realities of what really happened. There's so many things that, people, everyone's leaving the state, or this is happening, or we need this, or we need that. And we all nod our head yes, but when we start to actually analyze the information, sometimes it's totally opposite than what we thought. And I think in this case, it's just such a huge economic driver what you're doing and things that can't exactly be tracked
Yeah.
intangibly, but when will they come back and have another meal because they had a good experience? Yeah, those kind of intangibles. You
For
can't really
sure.
market to those people.
Well, I
It
also think
happens.
in terms of recruiting people to positions, to teaching at local area schools or, working at the paper mill or things that might attract people to town, there's no question that entertainment and cultural life is a pretty significant
Yes.
dimension of what people are looking for in quality of life.
Mhm.
And that's why people are moving to Vermont, in a broad sense,
Mhm.
is quality of life. So to be able, it was certainly a large factor for me
Right.
to be able to have both a rich cultural experience and live rurally and have that sense of community. It's what brought it together for me.
Fantastic.
So I think that's another important factor to track as we're looking at the
Right.
economics.
Great. Well, we got to schedule another program because we've
More
already
to
scratched
talk
the
about.
surface. But just give us your website again so people can look up information and the upcoming events.
So nextstagearts.org.
Great.
You don't even have to put in the www anymore. Nextstagearts.org. A lot of information about who we are, how we program, what's coming up, and an easy way to join our mailing list, and then you get weekly updates about what their programming is, and that's always changing and always exciting.
Great, great. And I want you all out there, when next time you go to Next Stage and Maria steps up in front, I want you to go down and say, I heard you on Everyday People Show, and that's why I'm here, man, because we're in Bellows Falls interested in what's happening in Putney and at Next Stage.
Well, it's a great show, and thank you for doing
Great.
it.
Well, thank you for coming. So I want to again thank Fact TV for being such an incredible resource for getting us the word out about what people are doing in the community. And also want to thank the Arts Council of the National Endowment for the Arts and Chroma Technology for helping to continue to support, and all you individuals out there that have and hopefully will continue to support RAMP as we move forward. Until the next time, this is Robert McBride. Thank you.